thinking about what to talk about, and thought came up that tomorrow is going to be a special day. Upasaka Dan will be taking his Anagarika precepts, starting life in more of a renunciant form, and appreciating that fact that people are still in the world who looking at how they want to live, and making a step in the direction of simplicity, renunciation, letting go, giving up some of the more traditional ways of being in the world, in search of something a little more fulfilling in the long term. Becoming an Anagarika here at Abhayagiri is one way of doing that. There are other ways, but it's a particularly wonderful way, at least in our minds. Because when you think about it, life in this world, this society, is so much oriented towards acquisition, gaining, getting, becoming, and all the good things that can come from material world, if used properly. That's there, but there's so much pain and dukkha that inevitably comes into our lives if we make acquisition the center of our life in whatever form it comes. So moving against that mode of operating in the world around us is a step towards something that's a little bit more peaceful, sublime. There's so many, ways that we get involved with that, acquiring things. This is a consumer society. It's a consumer economy. All the signals are pointing us in that direction of, material acquisition. Many different kinds of acquisition. Material being the most blatant form of acquisition of things. All the messages pointing us in that direction, pushing us in that direction. Buy now, pay later, get 2 for 1, get one now, get one free. Just that kind of relentless temptation to acquire more and get more. Ajahn Karunadhammo used to be fond of quoting a billboard he had seen once advertising a credit card, and the slogan was, I'm blanking. The credit card. The advertisement was, takes the weight out of wanting. The real clear message there. Not only you need it, but you need it now. Adding that sense of urgency to the whole realm of craving and wanting. So we internalize these kinds of messages and apply them in many different ways of our lives. That movement towards acquisition, towards gaining, not just in the material world, but in so many other aspects of our lives, like the emotional realm. Looking for that kind of emotional gratification and getting more of it through attachment and wanting praise, people telling us how good we are, how wonderful we are, we do this so well, or recognition, being known for something special, a certain achievement or status in society, in the world around us. Success, being a successful person in some role or another. And the more the better. It gives us a charge, it gives us a feeling of well-being, albeit temporary. So that acquiring notoriety or acquiring praise. Becoming somebody, all the psychological benefits of being a perfect person too. All the messages that are out there of, becoming the most psychologically well-balanced human being possible. Being able to do anything, and the perfection of the human being, all-encompassing, sparkling personality, and all the exhibiting all the positive qualities that one can imagine. The perfect personality. The amount of stress that people put themselves under trying to realize that perfection. So we start to realize the painfulness of trying to cling to that and trying to fulfill those kinds of expectations. The more the better. Perfection is the best. Happens even in the realm of Dhamma practice. We like to think that we're turning away from those kinds of values, but it's hard. It's pretty hardwired into us, those kinds of momentum, that kind of momentum towards acquiring. And it's easy to bring that into Dhamma practice as well. So that we might look for, say, the perfect teacher, the perfect community, and kind of get lost in that search for perfection. It's a good thing to check out different communities, different teachers, different traditions, so that we know where a good fit for us might be. But that continual search with a critical eye can be devastating, really, in terms of never being able to find that perfect situation. Ajahn Chah would often tell stories of people looking for perfection in him as a teacher, having gone through many different kinds of experiences at different training places, different teachers, always finding fault with one in some way, moving on to the next, looking for that perfect teacher. And Ajahn Chah would describe that as looking for that kind of peace in an external situation is like looking for a turtle with a mustache. It just doesn't exist. So, and also referring that, or saying that if we're looking for that kind of perfection in anything outside of our own mind, if we're looking for that kind of perfect situation, that if we're looking for the Buddha in anywhere outside of our own mind, then we're not going to find it. We have to continually look inwards for that. And even in our own personal practice, the standards that we hold and the goals that we think we need to attain, looking for samadhi, gotta get me some of that samadhi. or I need more insight, or I need to get the jhanas, and holding it as a commodity. It's kind of the bringing that kind of acquisitiveness attitude into our own personal practice. I remember having a conversation with another monk some years ago, and I think he kind of tended to maybe go towards overestimation, but he was talking about how easily he was able to now, kind of after just a couple of years of practice, zoom through first, second, third, fourth jhana, and doesn't even really, put much attention onto that now because it's so automatic. And then working, he had attained the infinitude, perception of the infinitude of space, and was now working on the infinitude of consciousness, soon to move his way through all of the formless attainments, and drop into arahantship, kind of at the end of the sequence, and just the way it was being recounted just sounded like ticking off little boxes on a scorecard. So we can easily get fooled into that sense of attainment through acquisition of certain states of mind. And even if it's not that blatant, we might experience certain levels of peace of mind or insight. And then as they fade, because they're conditioned occurrences, through causes and conditions, they arise. And as the causes and conditions cease and they fade away, we feel bereft, and we feel like we've lost something and that we have to get it again. And how to grab hold of that and maintain that, and not be separated from that. And it's so important to realize that that's a course leading to suffering, and that we need to just create the causes and conditions through relinquishment, through renunciation, through letting go, and feel the peace that naturally arises from that. It's not something we have to produce or get. And it's hard too, because the whole realm of popular Dhamma is oriented towards that in some ways, even like with the commodification of mindfulness, the marketing of mindfulness in so many ways, as an app that you can buy to get mindfulness, or meditation apps, different teachings that can be useful, along the lines of the self-help model, but are then commercialized and advertised. More peace. Just buy this and you'll get more peace. So the messages are so strong, and we just tap into that kind of energy in so many ways, both more coarse and then on the very subtle levels. So the task is to turn that around, to reverse that, and realize that real peace of mind doesn't come through accretion of anything. It doesn't come through making something happen that we can then experience as a commodity, as something that we get. We have to reverse that into realizing that less is more, in a sense. Having less, wanting less, acquiring less, giving up, giving over is our way to a real peacefulness. So it's establishing the attitude of what can I give, or what can I give up, what can I give, rather than what can I get. Even, I think, people who are practicing in community. I think of monks who travel around to different places. Even after ordination, we're all encouraged to go and check out different monasteries and teachers in our tradition. We all need that kind of variety and stimulation if we're getting stuck, especially. But if we make that our lifestyle over many, many years and never kind of settle into a place where there's a good enough kind of a practice, then we just kind of find ourselves bouncing from one place to another, always in search of that perfect situation. And the people that I've seen that are the happiest, the monks that I've seen in my experience that are the happiest, are the ones who find a place, find a practice that nourishes them, steadies them, and then they turn their lives over to giving, to helping, a life of serving, rather than trying to get the perfect situation for themselves. And that becomes the flow of the mind is more towards that kind of relinquishment, renunciation, even of things that one wants for one's own benefit in terms of spiritual practice, turning it over to generosity, towards giving, as a way of letting go. So how can I give over? How can I give up rather than what can I get? And the freedom that comes from that, the more you give up, the less you have to worry about. It comes with the attitude of simplicity. Kind of dovetails into a discussion we were having at tea time a while back of the whole teaching and concept of emptiness. Particularly in some later traditions, there can sometimes be a inclination to see it as a kind of reification or concretization of a certain state of being, a certain state of mind, the emptiness attainment, in a sense. But the way the Buddha describes it, at least in the Pali scriptures, is it's a progressive simplification, letting go of coarser perceptions into finer perceptions. So, and he describes it in one of the teachings as, say you're living in a village or a town, or in our case, like a city or a town, and you come to the monastery, and it's out in the forest, and the buildings are fewer, the people are fewer, the pace is slower. And it's void, or it's empty of all of the perceptions that come along with living in the city. So that is looking at it in that way and realizing and experiencing the emptiness of all of those perceptions of the city once you're in the forest at the monastery. That's an entry into a form of emptiness. So you're looking at what's not there, you're experiencing what's not there rather than what is there with that reflection. And then he goes through a progression of moving from that perception of forest into just a simpler perception of earth, the earth element. the structures are still there, but the perception is a simplified one. And the voidness or the emptiness is the fact that that perception of monastery or forest is no longer there. And then he proceeds through perceptions of space and all the way up through meditative attainments, and then the ending of the asavas, the outflows, as those are settled in and relinquished, and the perception of anything related to an attainment, even a subtle meditative attainment, is gone. The qualities of the complication of those perceptions, one is empty of those. The ultimate form of emptiness, emptiness of all of the outflows, all of the asavas, particularly the perception of self. This is the ultimate form of emptiness, the emptiness that comes with the realization of total freedom. So you can see the progression of that is always moving from a place of coarseness to a perception of simplicity, to release, renunciation, giving up, moving away from rather than towards acquiring anything. So we're not trying to get peace, we're just setting up the certain causes and conditions where peace will come to us. So anytime the mind moves towards a notion of I'm not getting enough, or this isn't working because I haven't attained, or because I haven't achieved, or because I haven't acquired, or I had something but I lost it, I want to get it again. Anytime the mind moves in that way, let it be a red flag that says, hold on a second, am I moving into that wish to acquire, or wish to get something, rather than what is it that I'm holding on to? What is it that I can give up? How can I make my life more simple? How can I make my practice more simple? How can I let go of that craving, that wanting, whatever it is, no matter how subtle it is? Because that's, as we know, that's the second noble truth, the truth of the cause of suffering. It's that craving, that wanting, that movement towards acquisition. Acquisition is sometimes one of the translations of the word upadhi, constituents of existence or acquisitions. And nibbana, one of the descriptions of nibbana is the relinquishment of all acquisitions. And that specifically refers to the identification of self in relation to the khandhas, the acquisition of the khandhas as me or mine or I. But I think it's a good way to reflect, to think of it in terms of all acquisitions, anything that that we're moving to try and hold on to. And then again, the most sublime relinquishment being the acquisitions of the sense of self in relation to any of the ways we do it. So relinquishment of all acquisitions. And this leads to non-complication, simplicity in how we live our lives. The Buddha talks about one of the marks of a great being as being one who delights in non-complication, non-proliferation, nippapancha, just the untangling, the allowing of the untangling of all of our world, both materially and perceptually, and all the motivations that we respond to that pull us into acquiring, clinging, holding on to. It's relinquishing all of those and letting life flow in a much more natural, simple way towards freedom and peace. Not as an acquisition, but as a result. Well, we have to start somewhere, start where we're at, but just to gradually inculcate this approach in the mind, this attitude in the mind of not what can I get, but what can I give, what can I give up, what can I give over to, as a way of letting go. It always comes back to that. Establishing awareness, and then letting go of whatever it is that we're holding on to, whatever it is that we think will make us happy. We let it go. With clarity and awareness. And then the results will come to us. We don't have to go and try and seek them, pin them down, and acquire them. They're naturally in our hearts. We just have to find them. So tomorrow we'll have a celebration of someone who's taking an initial step along this path in terms of lifestyle. And kind of rejoice in that, hopefully. And also let that reaffirm our own approach in our own lives, whether it's monastic or lay, of moving in that direction of relinquishment, letting go, simplification, and the joy, the happiness that comes from renunciation. So I'll leave that for this evening's reflection.